I'm Isabella Mercury.
And I'm Marcel Chavez.
Today we're going to talk about feminism and the women's representation in the media, specifically about two great TV shows, The Mary Tyler Moore Show from the 70s and Sex and the City from the late 90s.
We've decided to choose this topic because we've noticed how people misunderstand the movement and how the TV shows sometimes spread different and interesting ideologies. So let's get started. It's no accident we know that when women went to factories in the world wars because men were not here, that when those wars ended in 1945, mass media was used to get women out of the factory and back into the home. Well, in a sense, mass media is being used in that very same way right now to get women out of feminism and back into some patriarchal mode of thinking. And movies, to me, are the lead propaganda machine in the right now.
However, some TV shows have been questionably brave enough to challenge this women's representation in the mass media, such as The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Sex and the City.
To understand better those TV shows and its message, we need to know a little bit of the history in America and the history of feminism as well. So when we get into the late 60s, we can see the United States energetically engaged in several movements, such as the American Indian movement,
the protests against the Vietnam War,
the death of Martin Luther King,
the Black Panthers,
beginning of the spread of Che Guevara ideology, the beginning of the rock,
the Watergate scandal,
and the right for abortion that women find in the gut. The second wave of feminism began right after the World War II, as we explained before. Women had to work during the world wars since there were no men in the United States to do so. However, after the end of the war, women were basically kicked out of the factories and back into their homes. What is interesting is that this World War II period proved that women were fully capable of doing the jobs that men had left while they were deployed. So women not just realized the opportunities to free themselves from their traditional roles as housewives and caregivers, but also, as Harding explains, in the 1960s and 1970s, they started to become conscious of the fact that they had never been allowed to enter the field of knowledge theory and knowledge production.
So as a consequence, in the 70s, the CBS channel started a show called The Mary Tyler Moore Show. It was supposed to be a show that started out divorced women, but because Mary Tyler was a famous actress that had worked on the Dick Van Dyke Show before, they were afraid that the public would think that she had divorced Van Dyke. So after all, she became an unmarried woman, a career woman, and she was the first one to be a career woman on TV.
Another interesting innovation from the Mary Tyler Show is that was the first time that a sitcom were placed not in the family house but actually in the workplace, right?
This show is important to television history for a multitude of reasons that go beyond both its quality and its continued success via reruns in the two decades since it left the air in 1977 after 168 episodes.
Later on in the 80s and 90s, it began the third wave of feminism, and meanwhile in America we had several things happening as well, such as the first woman appointed for the US Supreme Court, the first woman being an astronaut and going to the
Space.
The beginning of the end of the Cold War as well, and such as the internet invention and its quick evolution as well.
So, summarizing some of the claims of the third wave of feminism, they wanted the women's right to bear or not to bear a child, the right for poor and lesbian women to have children, the support that sex is for pleasure and not just for procreation, the foster male responsibilities and assertiveness in achieve freedom from STDs, childcare, eliminate violence against women, and also to have women's history taught to men, the history of women's liberation movement. And after all, the third wave feminism wanted to say that although feminists may have disparate values, we all share the same goal of equality and want to gain power to make our own choices. We all want a constitutional foundation of righteousness and equality, in which future women's rights convention will stand.
So in this scenario, TBO decided to start a show called Sex and the City, which is a Emmy Award-winning cable TV show program. The show is about four single ladies in New York City in their 30s and 40s, navigating often complicated relationships, not just between boyfriends and girlfriends, but also in their jobs and other situations. So, because the show has four main characters, we've decided to go focused on just one character that for us represents better the third wave of feminism. This character is known as Samantha. She's often known by portraying the men's view on sex and relationships. Samantha is known for several sexual encounters. She's confident, secure with her sexuality, and she could be described as promiscuous by some people, but let's say she's very independent and represents really well the third wave of feminism.
Employed as a successful public relations executive, Samantha is in her 40s. She is the oldest of the four main characters. Throughout most of her narrative, she detests the relationships with an emotional component.
In fact, Sex and the City writer and director Michael Patrick King admits when he wants to shock people or create some sort of uncomfortable situation, Samantha opens her mouth.
Yeah, and she's actually the opposite side of Charlotte. Charlotte is another character. There is the most conservative one.
We watch Samantha pick up a guy at the bar, and the next day she's gonna talk with her friend Charlotte and listen to her stories and how romantic and very patriarchy somehow point of view. The show contains nudity and explicit sex scenes very often.
The most prevalent theme in Sex and the City is the undesirability of the single state and the elusive goal of marriage. However, Samantha is the exception. She often says, if you're single, the world is your smorgasbord.
Sex and the City disrupts the conflation of feminism and femininity through explicit and public discussions about sexual experiences, challenging social norms, characteristics of women's liberation, rhetorics, and its use of confrontative and non-adjustive strategies designed to violate the reality structure. Although the title of the show implies that sex is a common topic in discussion, Sex and the City dialogues has braved issues such as abortion, miscarriage, menopause,
breast cancer, single parenthood, interracial relationships, and loss of a parent.
Sex-centered issues such as homosexuality, bisexuality, masturbation,
phone sex, golden showers, sexually transmitted diseases, sex in public, and impotence for male and female.
They are all discussed explicitly with equal doses of humor and severity, challenging the typical innuendo-style dialogue of primetime sitcoms.
And Samantha is often the main character for those issues. She's the one who has breast cancer. She's the one who has a homosexual relationship. She's the one who will get a test to see if she has a sexual disease.
Among other topics. When comparing both shows, especially these both characters, Mary Tyler and Samantha, we see that both were unmarried women and they had their own job.
But there are some differences too. Mary was single because she was dumped by her fiancé and not because she wanted to. Though Samantha was single because she wanted to and she had sex with several men, but nobody never said anything about Mary's sexual life. Another difference is that Mary is an employee of a TV station, while Samantha is the boss of the public relations company that she works to.
Besides all its qualities and positive sides of it and help to the feminist movement, there are of course several criticisms to these both shows and the representation of the woman on TV. For example, on the Mary Tyler show, even though they say that she didn't have a family, the criticisms say that her TV station represented the family that she didn't have in her house, which is somehow telling that no matter what the woman do, she's always going to be the mother and the taking care of her family and responsible for whoever is around her. Mary confirms at the end of the TV show when she's leaving her job and talks to her coworkers, and when she says goodbye, she suggests what the criticism is saying.
Yeah, she just says, "What is a family anyway? They are just people who make you feel less alone and really loved. That's what you've done for me. Thank you for being my family."
Sex and the City as well has suffered many criticism because besides its different way of approaching sexuality on TV, using women as a main character on such a show, they have been criticized
For what Bell Hooks says, that actually the show just is reinforcing the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy point of view. Because four of them are all white, thin, beautiful, and rich women. So, as Bell Hooks says, she could criticize it saying that it's feminist just for white women and not feminist for everyone.
concluding our project. We're trying to show that TV shows may have negative and positive aspects, but they are somehow contributing to important movements such as the feminism, as we can see. And hopefully we're going to have not another revolutionary TV shows coming to show and to support movements such as from the LGBT community,
The rights for transsexual and transgender people.
and the right for minorities on social class minority. Thank you so much.
Thank you!
I hope you enjoy it.